So I thought we would just give it a few minutes, let a few more people join, and then we'll get started.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So let's you and I just talk about what we're going to cover today and why this is so important for people to tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think you and I were chatting about how to set yourself apart from the competition.
Yeah.
And also for people who may not be familiar with paramedical tattooing, we're going to familiarize them with that. And people who might be interested in areola tattooing. It's a
Yeah.
very lucrative and also not to mention fulfilling industry. So, yeah, if that's something that you guys are interested in, because I know a lot of the fears these days is based around uh, fear that your business, may be obsolete because it seems like there's a new permanent makeup artist just popping on, left and right every single day. So I definitely understand that. And that's something I hear that's very common. And so, but what I don't hear is a lot of paramedical tattoo artists popping up every single day. I don't hear that very often.
100%. Well, let's get started with some introductions for anybody that doesn't know who you or I are. So I'll start with myself and then you can take it away, Sheila.
Sure.
All right. So my name is Jody Stoski. I live in Calgary, Alberta, and I have been a PMU since 2009 and a paramedical tattoo artist for that entire time. And I recently started an online paramedical tattoo academy to teach people these skills that I've acquired without making the same mistakes I did. And I think that is something that is so rare in this industry today. And I really want to showcase not only how to do these different skills, but to also shine light on other groups of people that may have completely been left out of this spectrum,
Mm.
like transgender community, period. So I'm really proud and happy to be able to not only offer this, but to talk and educate and do even things like these lives with you.
Yeah, you're so generous, Jody, with your knowledge. So I'm sure this industry truly appreciates you. And for those people who may be coming across myself for the very first time, my name is Sheila Bella. I am a celebrity microblading artist based in Los Angeles. I've been in PMU for 11 years. That's so weird to say. And I'm a beauty entrepreneur just like you, particularly in permanent makeup, scale their businesses, make more money in their studios. I help them build teams. I help them go online and be wildly profitable. And that's what we do. That's how Jody and I met.
And also, Sheila has one of the top rated podcasts on iTunes. So she is truly a guru in many different areas of this industry. So I do love working with Sheila, and I think she's really helped even let me carve out a path for how us PMUs can elevate our business and differentiate ourselves from all of our competition. And just like you were mentioning, the competition is fierce. So I think people could really use the guidance in how to make them really stand out in their industry, their city, or their town, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think the go-to thing for people when they're feeling like they're losing a grip on their business is they drop their price. They
Yeah.
just continue to drop their price lower and lower and lower, thinking that that's the answer, that that's just the going rate now. And then they get a bunch of business the minute they drop it super low. And I mean, is that really helping our industry out by, uh, are we getting into price wars here? I don't think that's what business is all about. And I think that hurts us all actually when we undercut what we know our art is worth, right? So
100%.
we're going to
Yeah.
talk about different ways to set yourself out apart from the industry without having to reduce your price to almost not to be working for free, basically.
Yeah, exactly. What do you see in the industry right now around you with that happening and people doing those types of things?
Yeah, I see that a lot, and I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's from people who Uh, it looks, to me, it's an obvious, desperate move. And I don't say that in judgment. I say that with
Hmm.
compassion. Because I think a lot of business owners, who are just trying to survive, who maybe have a permanent makeup business, and then all of a sudden they realize that it's dipping, it's not going well, it's getting more competitive. The only thing that they can compete with is their price, and I think that leaves people feeling really helpless.
Yeah.
Um, in this industry. If that's relatable to you guys, let us know in the comments. So, and I'm seeing a lot of people also assuming that they'll be skilled enough just after like taking like really bad training, if
Yeah.
especially if you don't know any better, and it's not
Yeah.
necessarily their fault. I just think perhaps they don't know any better. They're not in our community, they're not in our Facebook groups.
Yeah.
They somebody told them that, hey, you're a nail technician, you can add this to your services, you can take a weekend class with me, and now you can do it. So it's not like they know any better. So I do see that there's a terrible
Yeah.
lack in education, not just with the technique itself, but with marketing as well. And I think that is bringing our industry down as a whole because we lack all of this knowledge, right? And so, but I
Yeah.
think with the help of the internet, it's brought this industry a lot closer. And
Hmm.
also, it's brought all of this information to the forefront. It makes things a lot more accessible. And I think the biggest cure to all of this is community. We need to be
Yeah.
talking to each other and working together to keep our standards and our prices high,
Yeah.
right?
It does. It's just sort of a ripple effect when people start to do that, and it just creates this different element of competition, and it really just negates and blocks that whole idea of us trying to have this community. And I know people like you and I are really focused on building that, and yeah, it becomes a little like polarized different fields of how people think. And one of the things that I think is a better idea, instead of capping your prices, is to differentiate yourself from your competition, and so that it doesn't devalue your services and devalue your
Mm-hmm.
business. What are your thoughts on that?
So yeah, how you differentiate yourself is, I think, might surprise a lot of people, because I think um, there are a lot of people who think differentiating yourself means having better before and after photos. And I do think that that's a part of it, upping the quality of your art. But, I have something that's even quicker than that and probably more long lasting. And that is showing up as yourself and
Hmm.
being vulnerable and relatable and being unduplicatable
Yeah.
by uh, sharing your story and building a following of, not a following, building a community versus a following.
Yeah.
Because I think that's longer lasting, because sales pitches, something Seth Godin always says, I love Seth Godin, is that sales pitches don't last, but stories do.
Yeah.
And I know people who, I'm sure you know people too, who can, sell you something, but then the people who really stick with you, even after you're off your phone, or you're, out to dinner with your husband, or maybe you're with your kids, like the things that really stick with you are stories. And I also
Yeah.
think why paramedical is such a rich industry, full of that, because it is so meaningful. It's also full of incredibly moving stories, of not only artists but of clients as well. So yeah, one way to really, really stand out in this industry, I think, is to be yourself and be a community leader. Whether you like it or not, you are a community. Your Instagram page, of your Facebook page, um, you're the one. Everyone's waiting for you to say something.
Yeah,
Why
for
else would they be?
sure.
They're waiting for you to do something, or because they're following you.
Sheila, what were your top three ideas and recommendations for people who are watching and listening right now to manifest that for themselves other than showing up on social media and telling stories? Do you have any other tips and tricks for artists these days?
Artists these days to specifically stand out.
Yeah.
So the first thing would, like I said, would be to share your story, share your opinion. I know that's
Hmm.
really scary these days, but gosh,
Yeah.
I mean, does vanilla ice cream stand out? I don't think so. Share your opinion. Just in general, share something that means something to you. Just like something
Yeah.
meaningful. Because another thing is, it's I think a lot of people can think that social media is different than real life. But
Yeah.
social media acts exactly as close to real life as possible. I mean, so it's something
Yeah.
that Gary Vaynerchuk says, who's a speaker at the Pretty Ambitious Summit. Get your tickets now. Thank you. That's my
Woohoo.
event. So, something Gary V always says is that social media is as human as it gets. It's just
Yeah.
digital, but the simulation, the psychology, and social media is exactly the same as in person. Like if you were to, meet somebody and they just kept telling you how amazing of an artist they were. Look at this thing I did. Look at this thing I did. Look at this thing I did.
Hmm.
Right? Look at this transformation. That, like, at some point you're gonna be like, oh freaking K, I'm out. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go over there. So um you need to be a whole person, like a real person, like a full person, and not just one giant sales pitch if you're truly going to make an
Yeah.
impact and build it
One
and
of
build
the
it.
things
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I felt at the beginning, I had a really great Facebook presence, and then Instagram came along, and I just was like, how many at the time, which like this was fairly preliminary in this even thinking, I was like, how many can you be on when there was literally just one? And I was so resistant to not only switch over to Instagram, but then start cultivating these relationships. And I did say to a business coach that I had a few years ago, and I said, well, they're just fake friends. And she just scolded me something fierce and was like, that is not, those are not fake friends. Like those are people who are invested in you and support your business and are literally like digital friends, but
Yeah,
they're certainly not fake.
yeah,
And that was a big mindset change for me because I felt like, how am I supposed to be present in real life and here? And it's more about having the balance and not just sort of saying, well, I'm not going to partake in social media, because in today's world, you're just doing your business a massive injustice if you do not connect and create those relationships online. Like, those words were, you know, have never been truer when if you do
definitely
have
not.
that idea, yeah, that it's or these relationships that aren't important, that don't need attention, because they really do. And when you have them, it makes such a big difference and impact.
Yeah, like those little hearts, like that's somebody's heartbeat,
Yeah.
right? And it's so weird to say, and I think a lot of media, which is so weird, cheapens social media. It gets
Yeah.
a bad reputation because, yeah, I mean, anything that can be used for good can also be used for bad inappropriately.
Yeah.
You could that, and that's where the choice comes in, you guys. Like, are you going to use this for something more meaningful? Or are you going to use this for something that's truly going to help the world and help you connect with others in a real way? Are you going to be, just a filtered fake of yourself, or just show your highlight reel? Or are we going to get raw, and are we going to make these connections, you know, and be human, because we're human first
Yeah.
before anything. You're a human first.
Sheila, what have
Like, and that
been,
if you're on there every day, if you're on there every day, shouldn't you be a human first, like what you were born to be?
oh God, totally. And what have been the big sort of communication moments for you personally that have really sort of carved things out for you that you were like, I was maybe really afraid to share that. And it was just, it ended up being just one of those amazing things.
Oh, something you can probably help me with actually, Jody, is when I had a breast explant.
Hmm.
So I had breast implants for about 15 years. And I was having some unexplained issues. I had some pain in my chest and some tightening. I had shortness of breath. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And at the end of the day, I just realized that breast implants were not cooperating with my body.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not saying this way for everybody, but breast implant illness is a real thing. Not for everyone, but for
Yeah.
me, it was. And and also one of my left implant had leaked. It had ruptured and leaked all the way into my subclavian artery up here. And when I was getting an explant, I almost died. So because such
Wow.
a delicate surgery, the surgeon was actually very shaken getting out of that. And he had done thousands of these. He was very shaken. He came out to see my husband to give him an update of how he was going. And he said, out of the thousands of surgeries he had ever done, explant surgeries he had ever done, this was the most difficult. And I mean, he was so confident at the consultation, but just, you know, and he said, I'm glad it was me. Oh,
Yeah.
that's another thing to get into. He said, I'm glad it was me. Had it been anybody else, I don't know if she would have survived, because
Wow.
the silicone was literally sitting on top of a major artery.
Did you
So,
know that before that had
no.
happened? Did you feel anything different?
I knew that it was ruptured because I had an MRI, because I had
Hmm.
a lump that was gratefully benign. And so in the MRI, because an ultrasound, you know, regular mammogram can't detect ruptures of breast
Yeah.
implants. I didn't know. Um, and so yeah, they said, you know, the MRI reported that I did have a ruptured breast implant on my on my left, but I didn't know how he didn't know how bad it was. Nobody knew how bad it was until he opened me up. And sharing that story, sharing that journey, first of all, even just getting the surgery itself, you know, I was so scared. So I was
Yeah. I bet.
ter- terrified, um, just shaking my core. It was so hard walking into that surgery center. So hard. My blood pressure was so high right before surgery.
Oh,
Um, and so the whole but through the power of social media, I was able to get through it okay, a lot better than I would have. I There was a community online, Breast Implant Illness by Nicole. It's on Facebook, that I was on there every day. I even met the girl that went the day before me at the same doctor, the girl that went after me, the girl, like, oh my gosh. And it's not like this doctor had a Facebook page.
yeah.
Just support. So one of the girls even coached me through it. You know, I was so scared before getting in. She's like, hey, just call me, it's gonna be fine. Like, there's so many people that there's so many people that just really held me up at that time. And these
Hmm.
are strangers. Those are the people that, you know,
Yeah.
you would have probably said at some point, like, oh, they're fake friends. And I would have said at some point, those are fake friends, they're not real, it's just a username.
Yeah.
But gosh,
Yeah.
like, that was when I was held up. you
Mm-hmm.
know, with through
Yeah.
these avatars, just an avatar and a name. And then you get on the phone with them and you're like, oh, you're real. Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
that one really, I felt the, I felt how amazing of an impact social media can have on a life. That, and
Yeah.
also, when my husband had a stroke a couple of years ago, that too, I was held up by this amazing PMU community that reached out, and I read every single message, like every single comment, every single message, every single, like, I really let it hold me up. I let it fuel me because I needed it,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, here's the floor. I was below the floor. And then so just anything that could help prop me up. I was above the floor. I was still on the
Yeah.
floor, but I wasn't underground. So like, yeah, like the social media is, oddly enough, just the way things are nowadays. And it's up to you whether you want to use it for, you know, booty pics or connection and inspiring people
Yeah.
in community.
Totally. And one
How
of the
about
things
you?
that I find, well, for me, it's been actually a lot of different things. Like back in the day, I've had these conversations with other PMUs that in the beginning really felt like competition, and there wasn't ever that sense of community. This is like, going back 10 years, and it was such a different feeling because everybody was so protective. There wasn't as much knowledge out there. So everyone was just very, and me included. My choice was just to more stay in my lane. But I think in doing that, you also just have that bit of negativity around that as well. So moving forward, and being really closed off on things like social media, and I had that mentality of fake friends, and really just like opening up and reintroducing myself and saying, hey, like, I love your work. I feel like I'd love to connect with you. And just even recently, I reached out to a girl in my city who does a lot of paramedical. I want to talk shop, but I just genuinely want to know you. And I want to, make a relationship. And, if we ever had questions, we could bounce them off each other, which was the opposite of what I was doing. And so there's things like that that have really changed for me. But also, if, there has been anything negative, and if I choose to share it on social media, I mean, those people who support you fiercely support you, and they'll come on and be DMing you and saying, like, you're such a great artist, or I think you are, so kind, and whatever those situations are. Like I try not to be too opinionated in certain things on social media, because I think it can, I don't want to get caught up on stuff that is just like, why are we arguing about this, or get things like politics or anything like that. But I do share a lot more of that personal end of things, and when I do, you are so supported by that community, and that has really showed me that is truly a thing. And yeah, it's amazing. I wouldn't go back, and I would to being closed off, and I would certainly encourage people, even just getting started out, to like reach out and have those conversations and show up for are you're there as well. Like, show up and show yourself.
Absolutely. And it can be a little bit intimidating, I think. But I mean, isn't that the only way to be a human? Just be a human in general. Um, and it's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
also,
Well,
where
I think
else are
people
you
just don't
going
even
to
know how to do that
find
so
this
much on the internet.
rich, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Where else are you going to find a conglomeration of this community, of these community members,
Hmm.
right? Like, where else? Nowhere in person, not often are we all gathering. And it's just an information and community hub our community has really grown and changed because, and our industry has grown and changed because of the rapid exchange of information that we all get to experience now.
Hmm.
Like, even just, I've been in this industry for 11 years. I think most people, even like people I really look up to, have been in this industry for like 5 years, you know, or less. But yeah, I've been in
Yeah.
this industry for 11 years. I see how much more advanced the artistry is because of, you know, the advances that technology has made in social media. Like, we we just also, our clients know better too. So I
Yeah,
mean,
they do. They're more
it's
educated.
yeah, it's really upping the level just as a whole of client education as well as artist education and skill, which
Yeah.
is great. Without this, I would probably still be comparing my work with my trainer who lives 20 minutes away from me, and that's it. But now I know that, oh my gosh, you can create hair strokes with a machine. I didn't know that that was possible, back in the
Yeah.
day. You know, you can get rid of scars. You can have realistic looking areolas. Like, you can, they're just, the bar is high, and thank God.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there
yeah,
has been a massive
I'm
switch in
I'm
just the
such like
the
a cheerleader. I'm such a cheerleader for social media.
sorry, Sheila, say that again. You're breaking up a bit on me.
Okay, yeah, I'm such a cheerleader for social media.
Yeah, you are for sure. How do you feel as the business that you run? How do you separate yourself from your competition?
Um, Really niche down. Only teach what I know I've personally done. Just teach,
Hmm.
you know. I think a lot of people think that they need to be other people. Like, oh, this person has a really kick-ass like ombre course that, you know, they're touring. That is a hit. So I'm going to do that too. But there's things about what you've had success in specifically, kind of like you, Jody, it's when you just focus on you, how your authentic self, what you've done,
Yeah.
that's how you eradicate competition, is through authenticity. It's just
Yeah.
show up as yourself. So for me, um, you know, I used to think that I needed to come on social media with a very specific look, energy. Even my mannerisms were those of people that I was obsessed with watching myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was a hindrance. I still fall into that trap sometimes. I still question, like, is this okay that I was a little negative today on there? Is that okay? But then, you know, as long as it's you, just like show up as you. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to be like Shay Danielle. Just like show up as you, because you
Yeah.
will attract those people. Like, we have enough of everyone else. Like, we need more of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, want to complain about something, like, go for it. Maybe other people are feeling it too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's exactly it. Like just being authentic is such a key to also bringing that success to your business. And your people, your followers, that's what they want to hear from you. They're not, like you said, just interested in a fake filtered version of you all the time. I mean, I think there's a place for a
Yeah,
bit of everything in there for sure, but
absolutely.
it's the variety.
Yeah, I think, if I for a lot of people who might be feeling self-conscious about it, like, think about like your top five friends. Okay, the people you love to spend the most time with. Your top five people that, like, if you're going out this weekend and you're like, oh my gosh, this person, whenever I see them, I get so freaking happy when I see them. You know, those people. One of my favorite
Yeah.
people is Michael Sky Moon. How do you spell moon on Instagram? It's one of my favorite people. one of my best friends. And, you know, it's just like all the people that I think about that I love spending time with and making me feel good, like they don't look like a Victoria's Secret supermodel,
Yeah.
right? Or a GQ model, not necessarily. It's like, it's all about what just all about what you can pour into people. And I think a lot of times too, people, most of the time, all it is helping people feel seen, just
Yeah.
seen. Those are the people you love to run into at the store. Like, ah, right? When those that make you like scream like that,
Yeah.
because you felt seen by them. You feel
Yeah.
aligned with them. And there are people on social media, when I see them on social media, like, oh, this person created this new thing, I get super excited because I feel aligned with that, or, you know, they help me feel normal or seen or yeah, happy, just happy, right? And it
How do
doesn't
you
mean a fully filtered face all the time.
yeah. How do you make people feel that way?
How do I mean, the way I think I do it, and it's both and strategic, and I'm not ashamed to admit that, is I want to be the hub of the feelings. I think I want to name all of the feelings, good and bad. I want to just name them, not even fix them, just name them. Like, yes, I felt that way. And that's, I get that message a lot for people who listen to my podcast a lot, is like, we're best friends, you don't even know it. And I believe them. I
Yeah.
believe them because you're probably right. Benea, Scout Prodigy, told me that, and I was like, I believe you. And I've
Yeah.
gotten to know her, and I was like, she was right. She was right because apparently there's something about my content that makes her like laugh out loud, or, you know, like something she resonates with, you know, when I talk about the feelings, good or bad. And so yeah, it's both strategic and genuine, because I'm not going to name feelings that I don't have.
Yeah.
um yeah, so I think just in general, I think that's a good skill, habit, for people to have, I guess, because it makes you more human, and it brings us closer together as a community. I think it helps. It just helps us be happier. Like, listen, if I was feeling like I was the only one, that would affect my mental health. But let's say I saw some stranger on the internet talk about this thing, that would probably make me a little happier, make me feel
Yeah.
just a little bit more normal, even if it was somebody I've never met before. Like, so
Yeah.
why not use every second of your life, every outlet in your life to better the world, even if it's something as silly as your phone or Instagram? Like, why not?
Yeah. 100%. I think, sharing those types of strategies by naming feelings, by connecting with people using social media. One of the other things that I think is so important, and I am a massive advocate for this, is to be out there about things you care about. So for myself as
Mm-hmm.
a cancer survivor,
Yeah.
I am
Mm.
so passionate about training and teaching people in paramedical because it it helps give back, and I love to see that just keeps paying it forward and other people giving back to their clients, their customers, their patients. And it's a unique skill set. It really separates you apart, but I feel like it really ties a lot of those loose ends together in the sense that a lot of PMUs don't really know about. And I think that is such an important thing to touch base and talk about, so that people not only get the emotional side of how to connect with people, but then they can technically offer those things, whether they were free services or something that you offer to a specific person or cause that it really ties that stuff together. And that's where you can make so many of these really amazing connections. Because I think people can feel a bit overwhelmed and lost, even by just saying, okay, if I'm going to go and speak to feelings, and, you know, it's, that is fantastic advice, but it's also so great to elaborate on that. One of the things after I had thyroid cancer was I started working on my scar, and I shared that, and I shared the journey of what that looked like. And not only did so many people reach out and say, I've been through that myself, or, I had a friend or family, or, you can just imagine how those types of peoples or comments, like they literally come out of the woodwork. So sharing your
Mm-hmm.
experiences and sharing how you resolved those problems is such a unique way to set yourself apart. And I think that was one of the first things as a paramedical tattoo artist that began to set me apart, was me just working on myself and showing people what that did for my confidence, where I felt really insecure about people staring at my neck constantly with a really
Mm-hmm.
big scar there. And,
Mm-hmm.
not only did that move me forward, but it closed a healing, chapter on going through that cancer. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think the two of them are such a good marriage when you elevate skill sets as well. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, marrying your, something I talk about a lot is marrying your story with your solution.
Mm-hmm.
Jody, that was like so harmonious what you just
Oh.
said right now. It's like, oh, this is exactly it. So you worked on your own scar. So
Yeah.
is I would love to hear that story again. Love to see that more
Okay, so
often. It's one
like
of
you
those,
want me to tell you
it's
more
kind
about.
of, I feel like that's gonna be my new, yeah, because I feel like that's gonna be like my new favorite movie from you that I just want to see over and over again. And I think that's something too that a lot of people don't realize is like it's important for you to share your story often.
Mhm.
You see
Yeah.
Oprah do it every interview. You see Oprah do it every interview. It's the same story. I love hearing it. I don't get tired of hearing it. I want to hear it again. It's because you just tell it kind of like different ways. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize that just like what you shared, sharing your story and sharing it like weekly, even a
Yeah.
different part of it is something that just, I don't know, people will love. I don't think I've heard that story from you lately. So what
Oh, is that
happened?
right?
I don't think so.
So
No.
I had I was diagnosed with, like, first, the doctor, I'll just rewind this back quickly, is they found, like a lump on my throat, and it was kind of, I almost was starting to feel like my neck was looking thicker, but I wasn't completely in tune with that. So when I went for just a physical with my GP, she suggested that I go for an ultrasound, which, like, fast forward probably over a year, turned into a biopsy, which turned into a cancer diagnosis, which ended up
Mm.
requiring me to get a complete thyroidectomy. And that left me with a really large scar. It's about this long, and
Yeah.
it's almost virtually impossible to see. So when I talked to the surgeon before I went in, I'm like, it is so important to me that this looks as good as possible. And of course, it's super important to have a talented surgeon, because I certainly work on a lot of people that, they don't end up with a really good scar. And so it makes it trickier to make it look better. But for those who are self-conscious about stuff like that, even an improvement for them, it can be life altering. So after I had that surgery, and I had a quite a large scar on my neck, I have posted lots of photos of it because it is quite remarkable. And I started doing all the same scar treatment and care that I suggest to my clients. And then I did all the procedures that I would do to somebody who would come to me on myself. And I took photos all along the way. And then when I eventually went back for a checkup, my doctor called all his staff in to show them what my neck had looked like. And they were just, like, completely taken aback that it could look like that. And so that was a feather in my hat. And it really made me realize that this was something that I need to do and do more often. And then that also turned into me educating about it. But I did feel really self-conscious about having a scar. I thought all kinds of things. I thought people don't look at me in the face anymore. They look at my neck. Maybe they think I tried to cut my neck. I just had all these thoughts around it that made me feel insecure, and I got rid of that. I don't think for a second of any day anymore that I have a scar on my neck. And whether it was 100% of an improvement or maybe 50% of an improvement, most of the times that is what people say. I was after that invited to speak at a hospital about what I did and educate nurses and hospital staff that like this can happen. So I mean, you can have a great reconstructive anything, like even down to your breasts, and be left with scars that aren't as good as you would hope that they had looked, and know that there's another step you can take. And that is just like, it blows my mind when people don't know about that. I just really want to share that with everybody, and that it's not about them seeking perfection. It's about people seeking improvement. And I think that those are much different expectations than even as we are PMU artists have. I feel like those clients are very close on the spectrum to receiving perfection. And paramedical it's completely different. And it's not only so rewarding, but I think it's such a great way to give back through your business as well.
How awesome is that? I think people are seeking to just not even like be like an LA 10. They just want to be normal.
Yeah,
They just want
totally.
to not even to stand out. I don't want to stand out. I just want to blend in.
Yeah,
How about
exactly.
not stand out?
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge. That's a cool superpower you have, Jody. So like when you teach that to other people, like first of all, let's just focus on you. Like, how does it feel for you to have that superpower? Like, because that's what it is. Like
I
when you experience that, when you give that to somebody, just the comfort of normalcy, I suppose, right? How does that feel?
Well, I'm sure you can imagine it's kind of like it's not like any other feeling I could tangibly say exists
Mm-hmm.
when I do blank, because it doesn't. The giving somebody confidence or self-esteem, or to close a healing chapter for somebody, is unlike anything I've ever experienced just in life in general. And that's, you know what, when I started doing that, that was also when my business took off. And, you know, understanding that I could teach this to people. I can show you how to have that
Wow.
superpower too. And it's not that I'm some anomaly, because I'm not, but I have a lot of experience in how to create that for people. And I will say that it could be a bumpy ride getting there. And in paramedical, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made. That is why I want to shortcut that for people, so that they can not only be efficient and good at what they do, but in a much shorter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, so tell me about like, is there a specific story that you can think of where I know you were able to give that to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any standout experiences in paramedical tattoo
Oh
life?
my gosh. I literally could go on and on, Sheila, about this. I'm going to tell you two really quick ones. The first one was um,
Okay.
that I had a 14 or 15-year-old girl with a cleft lip come in, and
Oh, wow.
really self-conscious and on antidepressants, because she was just so affected
Mm-hmm.
by it. And I was able to create a whole new vermilion border for her and revise the scar
Whoa.
that came from her nose to her lip.
Right.
And the last time that I had her in, her mom said that she had gotten off her antidepressants and had a modeling contract. Like,
What?
talk about a complete 180, right?
Yeah.
And the next one is this actually was just recent. It's a lot, all these are on my site because I think they're so incredible to share. But the a man who had skin cancer in his lip. And what ended up happening, if you're familiar with how those types of appointments can go, is they start to cut out until they get to a point where they don't need to cut anymore because the margins of cancer are gone or so low that it's satisfactory. And what ended up happening to this pilot is his whole upper quarter section of this lip was cut out, like gone.
Wow.
And
Wow.
what they did in the surgery was they took a graft from his neck, and they took that skin and rebuilt it there. But there's a lot of problems with that. You can imagine that there's beard hair that grows out of there for starters, and this skin is nothing like this skin, for a few reasons. He had like a couple beard hairs like almost growing out of the lip, and then the lower part of the graft grows no hair. So he's got, like a heavy or
Oh my gosh.
stipply type beard because he's dark. But then this grows no beard. He has no lip and no color, no vermilion border, like obviously all the things. So we recreated all of that, and he was a complete different person. Like the gratitude that someone has for you when you are able to do that is, I can't even put it into words. And this is so accessible for PMUs to add this. And I get so excited to share this information and have them add those services to their business because it is a game changer. Whether you're
Mhm.
revising a cleft lip, I
Yeah.
stippled all his beard in. Like it's creative, it's fun, and these people, like, he honestly, he feels like he owes me everything, and I'm just as
Oh
happy
my
as
God.
I can be to give that to him. I'm like, you owe me nothing. Like I am just as excited and happy for everything as you are, truly. Like it's there, I don't feel like, oh my God, yeah, like I really did him a justice. It's just like I am on the same level of gratitude as he is. And I actually, one other quick story is transgender. I actually do free transgender, it's called gender affirming top surgery. It's when they're transitioning and they end up with a full mastectomy. They're left with areolas that are typically fairly scarred, not even. And again, to give them back that confidence and help them feel like the body that they were supposed to be in is, you can't even describe it.
This is amazing, Jody. Yeah, I mean, there's never a boring day at the office. Like, I feel like I would much
No.
rather do this type of tattooing than
uh,
eyebrows because oh my gosh, that's
it's funny
really,
that you
really
say that.
incredible.
I say it all the time. I'm like, literally, if I could just do paramedical like every day for the rest of my life, I would be thrilled. I've done a lot of cosmetic procedures, like over 10,000. Do I still love it? 100%. But I'm so challenged and just motivated and satisfied by paramedical. It's just a completely different business
Yeah.
to add to your business.
Yeah. More than a business, I think it's how do I put it? It's like it's not just a service. You're literally your business is literally diminishing fear.
Hmm.
Like what a cool what I mean, I feel like every business diminishes fear. This is on like next level.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I mean, if you're I mean, this is not a sales pitch, but if you are bored with permanent makeup, if you feel like a brow, lash, lip blush robot, I mean, shake things up, get into paramedical. I feel like that would really awaken not just your business, but I mean, your spirit for this industry. How
Yeah.
cool is it that we have that this is accessible to us, that this is really it's simple. It's simple. You can add it, and if you get really good at it, you can also teach it to others. Like this is really awesome, Jody.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
oh man, that's really cool. feel like you need a show.
Oh, I
Um,
do. And you know what? When you talk about these things, like I can't believe it. These conversations are showstoppers. When I talk to people about this, I mean, I feel like how it was with PMU back in the day. Like I'd say, oh, I tattoo eyebrows, and they'd be like, you tattoo what? And now I talk about paramedical, and I'm kind of met with that same response. And it's just, we need to educate. It is so easy for PMUs to make this transition and add these services to their business. And I always like the idea of spring cleaning, and COVID's kind of taken that to a whole another level as far as, being excited and reinvigorating your business, you know, being able to give back as that's like your spring cleaning and that's what you're going to add is honestly, it's like that is the cherry on top, truly.
wow. Yeah. I'm so impressed with, the route that you decided to become an expert in. Um, yeah, it's just a win-win all around.
It
Right.
is.
So, um, oh, so let's talk. I want to ask you about, I reposted your reels this morning about the course that you launched. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you for asking. Today was a big day because there has been so much work put into this. I have been doing areolas for, gosh, like the last probably 8 years, quite consistently. And again, like a complete lack of information in the industry, or people, I would be like, well, why don't you do this? And they just didn't feel like the education was there and that it was intimidating. And, the more that kind of resonated with me, I thought, on top of the Paramedical Academy that I have, I needed to add this component, and I wanted to add it in a way that uncomplicated it for people, because I think that's one of the biggest things with paramedical, or even sometimes taking on like a more complicated cosmetic tattoo style, that people will train and then they sort of like lose momentum, they finish the course, and if they don't do it like right away, that they're just like, I'm not confident, I'm not comfortable, it never gets put to use. So I think when you can uncomplicate these types of things for people, they're so much more likely to get going and just like add those skills in, be confident, start moving forward with it. So honestly, this course took me like 6 months full time. I have covered the craziest cases. There has been never written content before on how to be a part of the transgender community, and sharing how and why and the proper language of how you take this on
Yeah.
into your business. And that's never been talked about. I have actual transgender friends that have been a part of this to say, this is how you use pronouns. This is, the language that is appropriate. These are the things you never say that could be
Wow.
not really talked about. Like
Right.
educating people on how to do this. Like I want to really push, the gender affirmation part of this areola course, because it is just a whole world that's not even talked about. And these people need that spotlight. They deserve to be, just as big a part of our business as anybody else.
Hmm. Wow. This is great, Jody. Um, wow. I'm so excited for you. And that course is out and it's open now.
It is. Yeah, it just
It's
opened
open for
today.
enrollment. Okay. How do we sign up?
So you can just head on over to jodystoski.com. There is a link that's right there, and that'll take you through everything. You can break the course down into 3 payments if it works better for you. But yeah, we're so excited to educate people on how to not only do this service, but do it in a much easier, uncomplicated fashion.
Love it. Oh, I love this conversation, babe. You're amazing.
I did too. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I repurpose this for Pretty Rich Podcast? I
I
would
sure
love to
don't.
repurpose.
I would love for it to be just another part of your podcast, which I think is so amazing.
Aw, thanks. And for those of you listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can enroll for Jody's course. The link is going to be in the show notes.
Yes.
Thank you, Jody. Thanks for having me on your platform. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a great night.
You guys too. Thanks for everybody who's joined, and mwah, go check out the areola course.
Go check it out. Bye, you guys.
Take care, guys. Bye.